A Little Early in the Day by Michael John Richardson. I've owned this bar for a little over 20 years now, and I can tell you that most of the people who walk through my doors can be placed into four basic categories. The first being the party people. They get to the bar around 10 at night, looking to have a good time, and maybe find someone they can take home with them. The second are the social drinkers. They usually get to a bar shortly after work, right around 6:30 or 7. Most have had a pretty crappy day behind a desk or under their boss's thumb, and are looking to wind down with a couple of friends before fighting the traffic home. Next are the sad sacks. They shuffle in about 3 to 5 in the afternoon, looking to get seriously plastered. These people are usually the one-time drunks, people who've had something really shitty happen to them in the last day or two. They're looking for comfort at the bottom of a bottle and a kind face behind a bar. They just want to forget, even if it's only for a little while. Then there's your hardcore drunks. They come in all shapes and sizes and usually will hit a bar about noon. These I call my regulars. They keep the bar running. Most aren't any trouble. They drink until they pass out or puke. Then I put them in a cab and send them on their merry way. Of course, there are always exceptions to the rules, the ones that refuse to be pigeonholed. And some days, depending on who stumbles in, it just ain't worth opening my doors at all. Like today. I opened the bar at 10. I was trying to get a little ahead of some of the work I had to do, before the regulars show up. A kid I know was my first customer, and while I was working on replacing the filter on one of the taps, he was working on his third bud. It was still before 10:30, and we were the only ones in the place. It was Mike DeCurso. Sometimes we call him Mikey, sometimes the cursed one. Of course, not to him or his father's face. Anyway, he drained the last out of his bottle, then slapped it in a $5 on the bar. "Set him up, Joe." Mike thought he was a comedian, but he's the type that the world laughs at, not with. So I shot him a look that said to shut the fuck up, and this little punk started busting my balls. "What's wrong, Joey? I thought all you old-timers were Sinatra fans. I thought that everybody loved Frank." I placed the bottle down on the counter in front of him, nice and easy. I never much cared for the Rat Pack. Just a bunch of Hollywood sissies playing at being gangsters. "You gotta be kidding me. They was the coolest thing going." Mikey tipped back the bottle and drained half of it in one go. They say Sinatra was connected. I shook my head and punched up $3.75 on the register. "They got nothing, Mikey. They couldn't prove a thing." "That's 'cause Sinatra was slick, man. With that Lawford guy in his group, he had the Kennedys in his hip pocket. Till they shot John. That goes without saying." Mikey finished his beer and slammed the bottle down hard on the bar top. "Hit me again." I gotta tell you, this little snot was starting to piss me off. I just had my bar resurfaced less than a month ago, and here he was dinging the shit out of it. "You fucking do that again, and I'll smack you upside your head." He looked at me like I was speaking friggin' Greek. I got a bat under here, understand? Some guys just don't listen. "Come on, Mikey. Why don't you just give it up and go to work? Better yet, go home and get some sleep. It's a little early in the day to get yourself shit-faced." "I'm of age." "Barely." I snatched the empty from in front of him and shook it in warning. Some beer shot out the end and landed on his jacket. He didn't even notice. And it was real leather, too. "Your mom ain't going to be none too friendly with me if you go out and do something stupid after I let you get drunk." "I ain't going to do nothing stupid." I eyeballed him, and he didn't look too frosted, so I put a fresh bottle and a glass in front of him. "This better last you a good 10 minutes, or I'm tossing you out on your ear. The only reason I'm serving you in the first place is because your old man and I went way back." Mikey shook his head and started to nurse his brew. When he went back to watching the highlights from last night's Mets game, I figured that was the last of it and went back to working on the beer tap. "Why is it, Joe, that every guy I know has a Y on the end of his name?" "What the hell are you talking about, Mikey?" Bobby, Paulie, Jimmy. It's a throwback to the old days when everybody still had a nickname. It just, flowed. Mikey's eyebrows furrowed. This kid was as thick as a brick and twice as stupid. You know, Freddie the Freak, Eddie the Eel. I had just managed to get the fulcrum back on the tap when Mikey decided to blow. He kicked his bar stool halfway across my freshly waxed floor, smashed his glass against the pool table, and knocked a fucking bowl of pretzels into my sink. I had a couple of clean pitchers soaking in there. He was screaming like a whore with her tits caught in a vice. God damn him, Joe. Okay, that's it. I'm cutting you off and calling a cab. How the hell could he take that fat fuck Eddie instead of me, Joey? How? I don't know, Mike. Maybe nothing. He had to know that I'd watch his back. Hell, Eddie don't even own a gun. What was he going to do, talk him to death? Eddie was a good guy. Eddie was a friggin' coward. You know how they found him? Face down in the gutter, shot in the back. The only way that happens is if you're running away. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Hey, it could have been an ambush. If they came up behind him, they would never had a chance. Mike slammed his fist down on the bar. I should have been with him. 3's always better than 2. I could have helped. My hand was edging toward my Louisville Slugger while I was trying to keep him calm. Mike, you gotta know. Frank was only looking out for you. Bullshit! Mike, it was for your own good. You ought to show Frank a little more respect. No, he was a selfish bastard who didn't want to cut me in on the deal. Fuck him! Mikey slammed his emptied bottle down so hard that it shattered in his hand, several pieces of brown glass cutting him good. Fuck! All right, that's it. You're headed for... Then I finally saw the blood. Jeez, Mikey, will you look at what the fuck you did? We gotta put something on that before it gets infected. Screw it, it'll be fine. I grabbed a cheap bottle of bourbon. Get your ass over here and put your hand over the sink. Just give me a towel or something. You're bleeding. No shit, he said. I'm okay. If my eyes were a blowtorch, this little shit would have been cut in two. I told him, let me put it to you another way. I got an inspection coming up in 2 days, and your blood on my bar is definitely a findable offense. So get your punk ass over here, or get the hell out of my bar. Mikey thought about it, then slowly made his way around the end of the bar and joined me at the sink. I uncorked the liquor and grabbed his wrist. You ready? When I poured, Mikey tried to jerk his hand back, but I had hold. And anyone will tell you that when I get my hands on something, it don't go nowhere unless I let it. Don't be no pussy. It fucking stings! No shit! I pulled a couple of pieces of glass from his hand, grabbed a cigarette out of his pack, tore it apart, and stuffed the tobacco into 2 of the larger gashes. What the hell's that for? It'll keep the wound clean and help stop the bleeding till we can get you to a hospital. Really? Hell, you don't think God intended us to smoke this shit, do you? Then all of a sudden, Mikey started to cry. What the hell's wrong now? Mikey wiped his eyes with his good hand. Why the fuck didn't he take me with him, Joe? Why? What could I say? I took Mikey's face in my hands, like the way my grandpa used to. It left a short smear of blood on his cheek, but who the fuck cares? You know, he was in here with Eddie last night before they crossed the tunnel into Manhattan. Eddie asked him the same question. What did he say? I couldn't stand it. This little shit had me on the edge of crying myself. I told him, he said that after all the shit your mother gave him when he pawned you guys' radio, he didn't want to face her if something happened to you. So you telling me he was a fucking wimp? No, I'm telling you he was trying real hard not to lose the most valuable thing he had. He was trying real hard to be your father. I got Mikey out from behind a bar, picked up his jacket, and laid it across his shoulders. Come on, let's go. Mikey stopped just inside the door. Go where? Damn, the boy was thick. We got to get to the doctor's and get you stitched up. I turned out the lights and locked up. On the street, I looked him straight in the eyes and tried to smile. Now, I ain't being no wuss neither, but I hate to think what Cherry'd do to me if I let her only son bleed to death in my bar, especially just after losing her old man. And you know what the little shit told me as we were walking to the doctor's? He said his mother would have had my nuts in a ringer. You know, some days it just ain't worth doing nothing nice for nobody.